What's going on YouTube? Welcome to Westys Angling. You're joining me back on the River Ribble for an afternoon session today. It's about 4 o'clock. I've started walking down river and I've asked every angler along the way, how's it been today, how are you getting on and stuff like that, and every single one of them has something negative to say. Everybody's really struggling, and they have been struggling for this past 3 weeks, and I think a lot of it is to do with how low the water level is. I think the fish are held up somewhere, maybe in deeper water, maybe in heavier flow areas. As you can tell, it's a gloomy day, we're due a bit of rain, it's quite windy as well, so I'm sorry if I sound all muffled on the mic. Now I've come to the opposite side of the deeps here. There's a couple of guys there trotting and I've seen them have a couple of small fish, and obviously I had a decent session on the deeps a few days ago, so that's why I think the fish are held up in the deeper water. But I can't fish there because, like I said, there's 2 fellas fishing there, so I need to make up my mind on whether I carry on walking upstream or do I go back down towards the car park, because it'll make it easier later. But like I said, the guys down there tell me that they're not having such a good session. It's a tough one. I think it's going to be a tough session. I have no reservations about that, but I think we carry on going upstream and see if we can find some heavy flow areas. That's what we're going to look out for. I've got 2 feeder rods with me, so we're going to be putting both of them out on the cage feeders. I've got some maggots with me, got some natural baits, and we'll just see if we can get a few fish on the bank. I'm counting any fish as success, but I'm hoping for a couple of decent days or something like that. Something interesting. Right folks, let's get into the video and see if we manage to get a couple on the bank. What do we think about this little stretch here, folks? We're just on the front end of a bend and it kind of opens out a bit here. I think it's just a little bit shallow though, so I think I'm going to carry on walking. Right folks, let's carry on walking. Get back up here, and if I don't find anywhere interesting, we'll head back down towards the car. But I actually want to start fishing at some point this afternoon. Spent at least an hour talking to people, hoping to get a little bit of information, but the information I got wasn't very positive. It used to be, folks, that once upon a time there was so many smaller barbel in the Ribble that it was really good fishing, especially the free stretch and the tickle trout stretch, that you were pretty much guaranteed to get one. Now you can come and fish it for a full season and not be promised one. I think you've got to set your expectations right and come with the off chance of getting one, but target anything that swims, so you're not completely hung up on getting a barbel and end up being disappointed. Even if we don't catch anything today, folks, at least we've had a little bit of an explore, because I've not been this far down the free stretch yet. It's one hell of a trek. I've not seen any swims that interest me so far, although I'm pretty sure you can fish anywhere along this bend here pretty easily. The water level's right down. It could probably do with coming up about 2 foot. Let's get over here. Oh, muddy. Oh, this is tough going, folks. It's too windy. I think it's way too shallow up here. Might have to go back before it gets too late. I think it's way too slow and low, which is a shame, but at least we've had a look at it. We've got a bit further down the Ribble today. Time to head back, I think. Dear me. Right, back we go. Thought it might have been a bit faster paced down here. I'm going to have to put this rods bag on my back because it's killing my arm carrying it. Okay, let's get this on our back. I must admit, folks, I am getting quite addicted to river fishing. I think it's that excitement of not knowing what you're going to catch and how challenging it is as well. Look at all this massive river, folks, and the fish could be holed up absolutely anywhere. Right, well, we've had a little bit of an explore. Let's find a spot, get the rods in the water, try and catch some bloody fish. At least we've got our steps in today as well. Loaded up like a pack mule. My bucket's just broken, the strap on it. For God's sake. Oh. I think, folks, if them fellas who were trotting before have moved out of the deeps, church deeps that is, I think I'll set up there, have a few hours on there. Like I said, I just think the fish will be held up in the deeper water, or the really fast-paced water anyway. Can't believe my handle on my bucket's broke. Jesus. I'll have to buy a proper one rather than just a cheap plastic one. Oh, I sunk in about a foot there. Would you believe it? The rest of the bucket's broke. What's my bloody luck tonight, folks? I've got a tiny little bit of handle left. First thing I'm going to do when I get there though is have a brew, because I am shattered. That is one hell of a trek with all your gear. Oh my God, I'm absolutely drenched in sweat. Well, I've got a bit of a theory, and I've just come to the right of the guys that are trotting, and I'm thinking they've been introducing maggots all day that are probably washing down here into the deeper water. So I'm thinking of maybe setting up on this stretch here, maybe down here, and fishing my feeders into the flow, into the deeper water. I think that's going to be our best bet. From what I was hearing from the guys that were near the car park stretch, it's not fishing very well there, so I think that's the plan. So I'm probably going to fish from this swim here, because I've got a bit of a bench to sit on there, and I'm going to fish over here on a diagonal, and we'll fish into dusk. I don't think we've got a chance of barbel on this stretch, but we might have a chance of a really good bream, really good perch, who knows. But never say never, stranger things have happened. We just need a bit of WestysAngling good luck, I think. But I deserve it after that bloody walk. So you'll never guess what, I've dropped my net somewhere back there. Hopefully it's not too far. Oh, for God's sake, could my luck get any worse tonight? It could be miles back there. Tonight's session isn't going well, is it, folks? I'm gonna have to walk back for it, aren't I? It's like a 30-minute round walk, if it's still there. It's a long way. I had it clipped to my unhooking mat. I'm trying to think of a way around it using a net. Now obviously most of the fish coming out of this stretch are going to be small anyway, but if I hooked anything decent, just wouldn't be able to land it unless I got my unhooking mat underneath it. But I can't even get into the water because I've no waders. I'm going to have to go back for it. It's cutting the fishing time down by about half an hour and it's already 5 o'clock. God's sake. Tell you what, if I don't get a double figure barbel when I set up finally, there's something wrong. Let's go and find it. Oh, how's your session been tonight, Westy? Oh yeah, good thanks. I just walked 16 miles with 50 kilograms of kit and never got to fish. Oh my god. My core and bags have snapped. What is my luck tonight? You know what, folks? Most people would just call it quits now, wouldn't they? Who's betting that it's all the way back where we turned around at the woods? I'm hoping it's not, folks, but that would be my luck tonight. If something's not claimed it or it's not been blown in the river. There it is, folks. Right back at the start. I'm always speaking to people, always gathering information, and I've just been talking to the fella there. He's fished the free stretch for about 4 years, and he said he's never had a barbel out of the car park end of the free stretch. He said he always fishes up this way. He reckons this stretch here, the farm stretch, is the best for the barbel, and he recommended me come up here actually and give that stretch a go where the tree is across. So who knows, was I meant to come back for my net and talk to that guy who's just told me exactly where to fish for the barbel on these stretches? So yeah, could have been fate, folks. Always see the positive in a negative. That's my saying. Reckons it's about 4 foot deep, about halfway to 3/4 of the way across. Mostly gravel, but said there's a bit of a sandbar just out from you. You want to be past that. He puts a bed of hemp down and fishes over the top of that. But apparently this stretch here is where the river record came out, so mustn't be a bad stretch. It's so hard to know where to fish, and like I said, the fish could be bloody anywhere. I'll have an hour here, and then if I don't get anything, I'll pack up just before it goes dark and I'll move down to another swim. First things first though, God, it's windy. I wish I'd have brought some water with me. Pod's in, net's on. Right, folks, we've got the old shit mix out the freezer there, partly defrosted. It's got chunks of luncheon meat in and all sorts of that. I'm probably going to put I'm going to start with a piece of luncheon meat on the hook. We're across from a farm here and they're working, so I apologise if it's noisy. So nice big lump of meat there. I've actually bait stopped it, but I'm also, just for a bit of added strength, I'm going to go through the meat as well, just to help it stay on the hook a bit better. Now let's get that first rod out. It's very windy, but we're casting downwind, so should be alright. I know you're meant to fish into the flow, folks, but the flow's that weak at the minute that I'll be able to hold bottom. So let's try and get it towards that back bank, shall we, where them trees are. And I'm hoping for a barbel or a chub. Any fish is a win today, folks. Be alright, that 3/4 of the way across-ish. We'll put the bait runner on while we're setting our other rod up. I gave it some welly then, but it's a fair old chuck to that opposite bank. Well, there was 2 definite bangs then on that rod, but I've got a feeling this swim might be just a bit too windy I tell you what, it's a lovely evening, but that temperature hasn't half dropped this last couple of days. So nice to be sat out here on the river with a cup of coffee, especially after all that absolute palaver. I think I'll probably have one more cast on the worm, get the rod packed up, and potentially decide between either fishing church deeps in that deeper water for like an evening bream, or potentially a shore bore, something like that, or I go a little bit further downriver, I fish the gravel bar and hope for a barbel or a chub or a dace. I do believe that guy saying that this is a good stretch, but I honestly just think the river's too slow. There's not enough water in it for barbel. I think there definitely needs to be a bit more flow. I'm starting to get cold, so I think I'm going to pack up and we're going to go and have a couple of hours into dark at Church Deeps. So you'll never believe this, but one of my rod rests has broke. Oh my god. Right, in this swim, folks, I'm actually going to start off on the maggots, because them fellas have been in the next swim feeding maggots all day long, trotting. So there's going to be plenty of maggots have washed down here. So I think that's what we need to do. I'm going to start off on one rod. I'm going to have a fairly short hook length. I'm going to go for about 1.5 foot. I don't think it needs to be any longer than that with how little flow there is at the minute. And we're going to maggot the place up, get plenty of bait in. Got some maggots here, and if we think there's anything bigger in the swim, we can always swap onto a bigger bait if we need to. Look at that sunset. Now, let's get this out over to the back in the deep flow. That looks like that duck from Limbrick. The nemesis duck. Right, let's get this other rod out and somehow try and balance it on that broken rod rest. I'm going to put a worm out on this one, slightly bigger bait. Not scared about putting quite a bit of feed out if I need to, so I'll probably recast quite often for the first few casts. I'm going to cast this one a bit further upstream. That'll do us right there in that heavy flow. You see, the heavy flow at the moment is probably a bit more like normal flow, so I'm not scared about putting it there. Probably really stupid me doing this right after being ill, because I'm exhausted. I'm shaking. I'm literally shaking. I'm not exhausted. Idiot. But I've got fish to catch, or not catch, as it may be. Right, let's have a brew, wait for a fish. Bloody wind's picking up in this stretch now. Can't win. I'd hate to be in that other swim right now and get blown away. Have we got a fish? Have we got a fish? It was a very small bite, barely detectable, almost eelish, unfortunately, on the maggots. And it is indeed an eel. Well, we have saved the blank, folks. Eel or not. They call me the bootlace king because that's what we've caught. Now, let's trap it there so it doesn't mess up my hook length. And there we go. El Blanco is saved though, with a little eel. Keep trying to bite me, the little shit. Yes, folks, he saved the blank, the lad. Oh, nearly slipped in. He's saved the blank. The eel king strikes again. El Chopo, El Elo. He's done it. Right, let's get it back out. That was on the worm. They call him the bootlace king, folks. The master of eels. Well, at least we know where to come for eels for the rod race. Got a few places in mind, to be fair. I'm not kidding, folks. That was right at the back as well. I'm going to recast the other one a bit further out. Well, in fact, I think it'd be right. All these eels that I've had over the last couple of sessions are juveniles. It makes me wonder where the bigger ones are. Wonder if it's worth coming trying this swim with like roach heads or something. Going all out for them. I hope. Got a perch. Not a bad one. Ow, ow. Oh, it's warfare maggots down. Need my disgorger for that. There we go, folks. Lovely little perch unhooked. It's a bite on the worm. Definitely something on. Feels slightly better. Is it a better perch or something? Like an half decent fish. What is it? A bream? Happy days. And in the mouth there. Happy days, lovely bream. I think we're in, folks. It was a good bite. Small fish though, I think. Oh, it's another eel. The bootlace kid, he's at it again. God, they're hard work to unhook. Amazing creatures though. Just straightening this hook length back out after it's been coiled up about 1,000,000 times. The one thing I will say about evening fishing on the River Ribble is it's not for the faint-hearted. There's some bloody wrong-uns walking up and down here tonight, let me tell you. Absolute wrong-uns. And then you've got these lads here fishing with a stick and rope. What I want to know is, how have they tied the hook to the rope? It must be an absolutely massive hook for them to do that. Like I said, I'm not worried and I'm not going to say anything because they're not going to catch anything on it, because they're only fishing about 4 foot out and it's shallow as anything. Some drunk guys coming now. Dear me. Screaming their heads off. What is going on? I think, folks, I'm going to have a couple more casts and call it a day. There's just too many wrong-uns about tonight. Typical eel bite. Very, very light, this one. Must be tiny if it is. Oh Oh my God. The bootlace king. I've done well to nail all these eels right in the top of the mouth because I'm getting on the bites really quick, you see. They're a lot easier to unhook when it's in the top of the mouth. God, it's going up my sleeve. Horrible little creatures, aren't they? I think I'm going to change my channel name to Bootlace King. They call him the Bootlace King, catching eels all night and day. You can tell I'm tired and talking absolute rubbish. That's how you know I'm tired, folks, when I start talking absolute garbage. Look at that sunset, folks. Absolutely stunning. I recommend to everybody that you should try and get out and do stuff like this. Get out in nature. Get away from the couch and Netflix. You don't have to be fishing. Just get outside. That's why I didn't have a go at them kids before, because at the end of the day, they're just out trying to have fun, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? There's worse things that they could be doing. And I didn't think they were going to catch anything anyway, but all that to me is bad parenting. Why have they not had somebody to come out and show them how to fish properly? That's why I'm so lucky to have a dad like mine that took me out even when he definitely wouldn't have wanted to after a week at work, but he still took me out even on rainy days. And there was days where he definitely was begrudging it, let me tell you. he hated going out in the rain. But there was days that I absolutely mithered him to go fishing, and he'd still take me even though he really didn't want to go. And that's what it's all about, folks. It's definitely my last cast, but look at that. Definitely been worthwhile coming out this evening, because I've learnt so much more about this stretch of river just by talking to people, just by going further down the river. So I'm glad that I came out, even though I wasn't feeling it, let me tell you. Like I said, I've been in bed with flu the last 2 days. I've just been talking to a fella that was walking past before, lure fishing, and he often fishes this stretch for barbel. And he said that the other night he had 4 smaller barbel out down the other way that we were before. But he said, he agrees with me, it's completely unfishable today because of how much wind's blowing through. I mean, this is a sheltered area and you can see just how much wind's blowing. It's a really windy evening. Yeah, he said he had 4 smaller barbel out the other night, which is nice to hear, because people are telling me that there's no smaller barbel in the Ribble anymore, that they're not breeding. So the fact that he's catching the smaller ones means that they are reproducing, and we've got a bit of hope for coming generations of fish. But I'm pretty sure I've got some good swims in mind to come down here of an evening and target specifically barbel. And I know that it's not impossible and that people are catching them from this stretch, but a little bit further down. So I think the next time we come out, that's what we're going to do, folks. We're going to exclusively target barbel, and hopefully can get my first river barbel on the feeder rods, and I'm fairly confident about it. But it takes a good few times of fishing a stretch of a river to get to know it. Always speak to the people that are fishing it, because a lot of them will be locals and they'll fish it often. So it's great to get information off them, and you can tell the ones that are absolutely bullshitting you and the ones that are telling you the truth. Well, I can anyway. That must be my sales background, but I can tell when somebody's not telling me the truth. But we're gonna get packed up. I've had a decent session in the end. We've got a few fish on the bank. They call me the Bootlace King. We've got plenty of eels. I think I ended up with 6 eels in all. I didn't film them all, but absolutely jam-packed with them small eels, so they're breeding. I think they've all thought, right, Westy's fishing now, let's swim back from the Bermuda Triangle and attack Westy's feeder rigs. I think that's what they've said to each other. All right, folks, I'm going to wrap it up there. I hope you've enjoyed this evening session, and I'll see you in the next Westy's Angling.